So nione tu kwa tent.
Or are you tasting what taste have you gotten? Hibiscus, strawberry, vanilla. So you need to soak it and make it tasty. Because challenges will always be there. That's what I'm hearing. Let's talk to Anjoy. Who is Anjoy over and above what she's told us she is? And how does she relate with the theme for this year? Invest in women, accelerate progress. Who is Anjoy?
Coming me here. I haven't been to town for a while. As we work on the outskirts of town, and I must say, hats off to the KRA team. I'm so impressed with the number of women in leadership, the split, and the fact that like a lot of you are women. It's amazing. So I have learned so much more about KRA today, more than just what happens in pay slip. Who is Anjoy? It's so interesting because one of the things I wanted to say about the whole theme, and that we need to know who we are. Most of the times when you're asked who are you, what you say is your name, right? And then your title, or what you do. Okay, I guess you guys are telling me you want to have lunch, so I'll be quick. So I am a daughter. I am the last one. We are three girls in our family, so I'm the last one in a family of four. And yes, my loyalties. I always tell our IT department, I think they feel employed when they have to come near you. Nuclear family. I really resonated with when Dr. talked about soft skills and ladies. My mom was a teacher. She's a retired teacher. And for me, I am a daughter. I am a sister. I'm a sibling. I am a mother to 3 boys. So we can exchange notes on. Yeah. I can assure you, the way I'm raising them, you're the one who'll pay me mahari, but it's fine. And I am an African. I am a leader. And I love Africa. I love our home. I love being Kenyan. Not when we're insulting guys on TikTok and Twitter, but usually most of the time. And the reason I say that is because I have taken a lot of time to understand what I value and taken a lot of time to understand what drives me. I have also taken a bit of time to understand how I want to serve the world. And that for me was transformational because it's given me a lot of power in my journey. I am kind, I'm tough as a leader. I love people, I also laugh at them. I'm human, right? And I look in the mirror every day, loving who I am today, loving who I was yesterday, and working on who I will be tomorrow. And I think that's the only way to live life, continuous progress. How do I connect with the theme, this year's International Women's Day theme? which is all around inspiring inclusion. I think a lot has been said about inclusion. So how I'd like to tackle that question is by talking about exclusion. Because I think that really is the problem, isn't it? And I think exclusion happens in two ways. Exclusion happens when the society around us, for whatever reason, decides we're not good enough. And we shouldn't be somewhere. And that's why the world, there have been so many people over 100 years of pushing for that opinion to change, right? And by the way, it's not just men who exclude women. Women also exclude women. So for us to inspire inclusion, I think we also need to understand exclusion. But what I want to take a minute to talk about is that exclusion happens through society. Exclusion also happens through yourself. And it's the thing that we don't like to hear. We sit on tables. Do you know we all sit at a table, right? Whether it's in your family, even your own table, yours, right? You sit at different tables at the workplace, in your families. We sit at these tables. But are we at those tables adding value? When you're asked who has a question, does anyone ask the question? When you have a strong opinion, do you raise your voice and say, this is what I think? Or are you worried about what everyone else will wonder about you? And that's why I love the message of you do you. Because I think it is being in your truest self that you are the most powerful at inspiring inclusion. Because you'll never let yourself be excluded. And you'll never exclude yourself. So I love the theme for this year. And my take on it is around the power I have to ensure, number one, I include myself. A very quick story of my career. I was one of those, those backbench people in meetings. So most of you are those guys of backbenchers in meetings. This is true. You sit at the back of a meeting, you never look the meeting convener in the eye in case they ask you a question. And if something is talked about where you have a burning passion, what do? And then you go and complain about it in the toilet. So I was one of these people. And one day, I don't even know why, I asked myself, who am I helping? Who am I helping? And I'm definitely hurting myself. And I physically removed myself from the back and forced myself to be sitting near the front, near the chair, paying attention, answering questions, challenging conversations. And I realized they have a lot to say. Unfortunately for people, I've never kept quiet after that. But for me, I just think that if we harnessed our own internal power, not only do we create space for ourselves, we create space for others. And you can have fun doing it. So I love the theme. And my challenge is, in doing you, are you bringing yourself to the table?
I love that.
In doing you, are you bringing yourself to the table? Because many times we don't want to.
We want someone to push us, right? And this brings me to the conversation with DC Doreen. And yes, we've been here year on year, 5 years now. And Grace Wandera will bear me witness. Every year we want to look at what we can do differently so that the women of KRA can feel appreciated, can feel acknowledged. But every year there's a call to action. Every year there's a challenge we are given. So, Madam Doreen, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, how well have the women of KRA shown up and gotten themselves to the table?
Angeline, for that question. I'll start by introducing myself. For those who don't know me, I am Doreen Bengi. I've been in KRA for quite a bit of time. I did join in the 1990s, so a number of you might not have been born by then, but now you are here with us. I've traveled through the journeys. I've started off at domestic taxes. I went to investigation in 1998. I was there for the last 15 years. In investigation, I did the intelligence, and intelligence, the most interesting part was prosecution. And so I trained as a prosecutor. That is what I usually am proud of, though I've never practiced because the government doesn't allow us to practice. I hope one day that they will be able to do that, because then we believe the technical capabilities of KRA officers will then be able to settle disputes in a better way than those who do not know. So that is me. I am a mother of 3. I have 2 boys and 1 girl, and the girl is exactly like me. My boy is a bit soft, the father is a bit soft. My girl is very aggressive and abrasive, and she's doing very well. She was able to go out of the country to study, but the boys are here with mommy. They like to stay around the mommy. So that is about me. I'm now serving at domestic taxes as a DC at Samia. So yes, at looking at what KRA has done, the women folk in KRA, I'll literally rate us at about 3.5 at the scale of 5, because I believe we have some way to go. We need to put into actions what we have learned, what we have heard. I listened to Ambassador, Her Excellency Monica, and she talked very, very, she brought out accountability and responsibility very passionately, and I did align with her. If as leaders, we are able to take into stock the initiatives that we have to do to move us to another level, then I believe we will have moved to about number 4.5 to 5. We're still a bit far to go. We have still we have still not met up to a number of initiatives. A number of us are mentors, but we are mentors as per the book. I am a mentor too, and I've mentored quite a number of my colleagues. But when it comes to reality, for us to document, as women leaders, you are a mother. You are a mother, and so you've learned a lot as a mother. You are a colleague. You are in that workspace. What is it that you do to help those who are struggling? What is it that you do to counsel your other fellow employees? What is it that you do to just sit there and listen to those that have problems? As a leader, you will always need to create time. Create time for your colleagues. Create time for those children that do not have somebody to lead on. Create time even for the boy child who needs us more. Right now, I believe all of us in this house have people who depend on us in one way or another. How often do you go out there just to be able to solve somebody's problem? How many minutes do you create just to put it aside of your work schedule to be able to attend to other problems? As a tax collector, I find it very difficult when I walked into an office and I find people queuing, a number of people queuing, and as ladies, we're just passing around them. We do not seem to know that they are waiting for service. As relationship managers, do we bring out our best? What is our best when it comes to the best? KRA is a caring organization. But how caring are we to our taxpayers? Are we able to address the problems that they're having? So, as we discuss this theme for today, we need to put in mind the actions that we do, the initiatives that are before us, our responsibilities and accountability to the nation. Are we there yet? How long will it it take us to be there? That question, I pose it to you.
Thank you, Doreen, and thank you for giving us a challenge. But allow me to just zero in there and ask you to look at Commissioner Mugambi, and let's imagine that CG seated there. What is that thing that you'd like CG to do to enable women become better, so that next year we are not calling other guests who come and still give us the same story? What do we want to do differently? And therefore, how can CG make it happen for us?
As an organization has done quite a bit for the women folk. When you look at where we are coming from and where we are now, I believe we have done quite a bit. Looking back to 1990s, the complement between ladies and men was literally between 15 and 85. It's not comparable to now. If we can move to 50% for the CG, I think that would be commendable, because we have traveled this journey. There was a very huge gap between the ladies and the gentlemen, but we have made it. And I believe it is something that can be complemented for KRA. As CG, now the challenge would be, what would you do to increase this rate to closer to 50%? And I believe the ladies in the house would really appreciate if the opportunities for growth would be opened as they develop themselves. And a number of ladies in the house have really put in effort to develop themselves. We would be asking you to open up opportunities for us, so that we look back and say our CG really recognizes what women can do. And we believe women can do just as well as what men can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you ready, ladies, to take up that challenge when CG opens up an opportunity for us? There is no going to gossip in the nini. Hakuna, eh? Tumesema no, eh? Great. Allow me to go back to Anjoy. So I remember when I was 19 or 20 years or thereabout, that's when we had a lot of conversations around Beijing, China. I don't know if those ones who are close to my age would remember that. Eh? And then I was working at the University of Nairobi. And at the 844 building, women came strutting their high heels and in their beautiful vitenges, you know? And they said, yeah, this time round, we are going to show up. So every year we keep doing that, AJ. Yet I've not seen conferences for men where the boy child is told, we've got to show up. Yet every day, the men wanapita katikati yetu na wanaendelea tu. What exactly could be the problem?
First, I think the men need to hold some conferences. And I'm not joking. I'm bringing up 3 boys, and when I look at men today, guys, from our father's generation to the generation of men we've married, to those who are coming after, there's a distinct deterioration of values and responsibility and accountability. So I genuinely think that men need to start wearing shoes, suits, shirts, and holding meetings amongst themselves. And let me challenge you. Now, what is the problem? I think for me, I'd like to start by the world. I mean, things can be unfair. The world is what it is. I've gotten to a point where I've accepted that things are what they. So once you accept that, the question is, how do you change them, and what role do you want to play? When I started my career, first I'll tell a very bad joke. So I worked for British American Tobacco for 10 years. I started by selling cigarettes
in Kilifi. And then I got a job at EABL selling alcohol. And my sister told me, and now I just need to move to either, the trust or gambling. I finish all the scenes. Anyways. When I started as a sales rep, we were 45 sales reps in BAT, and we were only 3 women. Only 3 women. I look at sales teams today, 50% are women, some even 70. So let's maybe not feel too bad that every year we're doing this, because it's working. It's working, isn't it? Look at KRA today, from 15 to 46% representation, recognizing that we are 50% of the population and we should have a seat at that table. But when I look at the journey, especially in this age, those women who went to Beijing and made that huge bang, hats off to them, because they opened the door for us to be able to be here and have this conversation, right? So what is wrong is that it just takes time. It takes time. And one of the things I'll talk about, which is very strange in the workplace, I think earlier on when women were building careers at work, you are told you need to be like a guy, right? We had even changed how we dress, boxy suits, and, change how you talk, be unkind, isn't it? There was an age where female success meant being like the men. And there's nothing wrong with being a man, but I think there's everything wrong with being a woman trying to be a man. I'm religious. I believe in God, and I think we were all created specially to play a role. And we should all embrace the role we are here to play. And for me, I think women bring kindness, love, and care into every situation. That's the difference we bring. We bring insight because we care. We think about it. We know you like 2 spoons of sugar, and you like no sugar in your tea. That's what we bring. What do we need to do? I think we need to embrace our femininity and the gifts God has given us, and bring those fully to the workplace. Okay? Not just at home. The only things you only love when you open the door and you see your kids. And some of you and your kids are irritating you, but anyway, we love them anyways. Well, you get what I mean. I think we need to bring kindness, care, and love to the workplace. And I think that I talk about love a lot because I think it unlocks the path to a better society. Okay? If I love you, am I going to hurt you? Am I going to exclude you? If I love myself, am I going to keep quiet when I should be speaking up? No. So I think it genuinely all begins and ends with putting love in your heart and allowing yourself to act on it, right? And I think when I look at the journey we've had, when I look at the barriers ahead of us, okay, they are caused by a lot of fear. I think there's fear. And you hear it in the world today, women are taking over. But what's wrong with that? You have had the world for so many years. We can share. It's our world, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with women taking over. There's nothing wrong with men leading. We should all be comfortable with each other. And I think when we talk inclusion, we make it a choice. It's either or. And I think that's wrong, and that's what causes a huge barrier. I think inclusion means we all come to the table and we are fair to each other, right? But to do that, you have to come to the table. So for me, what I'll say is, ladies, can we love and embrace our careers, ourselves, our families? This journey doesn't start with inclusion at the workplace, okay? I think it starts with inclusion at birth, right? If you bring up girls who are clear-minded, have learned how to use their voices. Are you always telling your daughter to keep quiet? And women are not. We grew up with that a lot, yeah? Are we repeating that? Are we causing our own problems? Don't just shake your heads. Go back and think about it. Think about it. Think about when you saw a woman passing by and you judged her. Right? So for me, I think the barriers ahead, there's a lot of fear and there's a lack of care. And if we learn to manage our fears, to be courageous, and then to really care about ourselves, it sounds obvious, right? Care about yourself and care about those around you. I think those barriers begin to fall away a bit faster because we are not fighting ghosts, right? Because we realize we are not fighting, we are together. Yeah.
We are together in this. So let's try and bring kindness, care, and love. And that does not mean that we will not do our job. Kere TV is still live, and let's keep our mics on even when we are not speaking so that they can hear what it is that we are saying. Before I go to my last question, and before I request that we wrap up, I'd like you to start asking yourself, what is it that you're going to do differently to start doing you? And how can you be supported to do you? Okay? Now, my last question goes to Honorable Harriet. And we've had this. Good girls do not get corner offices. Are you aware of that? There's even a book written on that. How many of us have read it? Okay. Interesting. So what does this mean? And how can we get these corner offices even as we are good? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that book is Lenin, right? Is it that book? Sorry? Yeah, it's Lenin. And that book also expressed something else. This lady realized that they needed a parking for pregnant women when she was a top manager and she was pregnant and she kept struggling to get off her car and get to her office. So what does that tell us? We should not shape policies for ourselves because at that time is when our toe is being pinched by the shoe we are wearing. Just underscoring the topic on care or the point on care, we should be able to look around ourselves and say, these women need a creche, not because my children are 15 years old or I'm pregnant with a 1-month-old, but it's a necessity. It's a need. It's a need to help our employees to be comfortable. It's a need because when you have a young child who's 2-3 months, your mind is never in the office, it's at home. For those who have children, you know the drama that goes around even having childcare, the caregivers with children. You woke up in the morning, your girl is telling you, my friend, I'm leaving. I mastered the art of telling them, please go, and I carry my children to work. And I never had apologies for that. I used to dress them up in suits. I give them pens, and I put them in the office. As I'm working, they are drawing, they are doing their things. You know? So never apologize. You know, just embrace these things and just get to know that is our space as women, number one. Embrace that space. And then number two, being nice, or rather being difficult. There's another book that says we must be difficult as women. I'm reading it. How many have read that book? That book does not say you be rude or angry. It just means you should be so difficult that if you have put your mind to do something, it must be done. How many have read that book? How many want that book? As a gift to these women, KRA, I think you should bring that book. That book is a beautiful book. That book says you must be difficult. It doesn't mean you must be rude. You must be difficult in yourself because the life around us is not easy. For you to beat men with PhDs, for you to get that corner office, you must be difficult enough for you to wake up every morning and face the challenges that you face every single day. It also means you must be able to speak out. I told you my mouth has always saved me. You know, you must also understand your environment. For me, I know I don't have to please everybody. Because in this room, I could have one person who likes me and 50 people who hate me just because I have heels today. But that's just nature. You know, in this room, there are people who will embrace you as a worker. But there's someone who will hate you because you're a worker and you deliver. That is just nature. But God has given us grace as women. God has given us the grace to nurture. God has given us wisdom to also know when to speak and when not to speak. Sometimes you walk into the boardroom. I told you my story of my first engagement in a boardroom. And I had worked so hard to be in that boardroom because before I got that appointment, I remember, I was flying to AC. I had not picked my visa. And there was a crisis in education in this country. And everyone was going into that crisis meeting. I had to pen a note to the CS at that time, just to say I really need to be in this board because of my love of mentorship for young people, and I think that is the value that I'll add if you give me the board appointment. So I missed my interview, but I apologized. I had to leave and travel, but when I came back, I had the board appointment. So for me, I decided, no, what's the worst that can happen? Let me jot a love note to the CS. And I did that. And guess who told me to do the writing? The security officer who was at that lift. When he saw I was dejected, I was not happy, I was saying, no, I have to travel. I have been here since 7 because my interview was at 8, but I have to leave. I have to go, I can't stay. He told me, you know what, madam? Let me get you a foolscap. You write to the CS, the security officer. And that is why I'm telling you, everybody has their value. If I had looked the other way and say, this person here is a security officer, what does he know about interviews? You know, I would never have known that me penning down on a foolscap. And he gave me the pen. Because when you walk into the interview, you leave everything in the car because you're walking into an interview. All you have is your folder. So that is what it means. Never shy away from expressing yourself respectfully. Never shy away from voicing where you're not comfortable. Never shy away for saying, you know what, I need to move to first floor because my legs cannot take the stairs anymore. Never shy away from scaling up and taking yourself to school. The one thing you should ask yourself, you know, employers are selfish. They will drain everything from you. But that's our nature because we must drain the best out of you. But now I want you to ask yourself, what is the one thing that institutions can give back to you? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Aside from promotion, what is the one thing that institutions can actually give you? I can tell you it's training. I can tell you it's training. When I went for my interview to be the IEBC commissioner, for anyone who watched that interview, someone actually asked me in that interview, how come you've not listed all your qualifications here, plus everywhere where you have worked? And my genuine response was this. To be very honest, there was forms. There were forms that you needed to write, and I said the forms were, the spaces were too limiting, you know, and by virtue of that, I could not write everything. So what I have done, I have carried my certificates, and they are here, and it was a whole bundle of them. But those certificates were because I was trained by the institutions where I was working. So ask yourself, what is the one thing that institutions can give you aside for promotions? And remember, those promotions, not unless your boss leaves, you can't scale up, isn't it? And that is why you're told, learn the institution. Fine, you're in legal. Try and learn what salespeople are doing. Try and learn what the auditors are doing. And by the way, even be the trainer in those in those departments. Don't just sit in HR and say, I am a HR, mine is resources, human resource, and it ends there. Try and learn a new skill, work with other people, try and also learn from other people, because there's a lot of knowledge that everybody else is sitting with. So for me, you can all sit in the corner office. It's up to you to choose where that office is. Are you going to create that office? Are you going to wait for someone to leave so that you can sit on that seat? Are you going to create the space? EABL has not said, but I know they have a menopause policy.